Hey, welcome to Lunch with Lee. Thank you for joining us here again. Today we're talking about something that's come up a lot recently, which is basically who would build a fireplace, a chimney? Who does that anymore? Because there aren't like plumbers do plumbing, there's a license for it. HVAC companies, heating and air conditioning companies, HVAC is the same thing. They do heating and air conditioning, but there's no licensing for chimneys or fireplaces. Um, there are certifications for the stuff, but they're not required. So, who builds a fireplace? Who builds a chimney? If you wanted to, who does this? And it's been a big issue recently because people are trying to build fireplaces who don't know what they're doing. They assume they do because they've seen it or because they've laid brick before, but after they actually have it built, it's quite obvious they don't know what they're doing at all. So, and if you want to get even more in depth, there are different types of fireplaces and different types of chimneys that different people can install. There are manufactured fireplaces, they're like metal kits that you snap together. And quite honestly, there are a lot of people who do new construction. We do not. For track home builders, stuff like that. Yes, we will install them, but you're almost better off going with someone who does that for a living. Their cost structure is just different. Their insurance is different. They also will install it, but if there's any problems or if there's any framing or brickwork or finish work, they don't do that stuff at all. They just put it in. Whereas when you hire someone like us, most of the time we're doing retrofit work, we're doing problem solving work. There's going to be all kinds of problems that we have to solve throughout, and we solve it for the homeowner. We do a bunch of finish work, we'll do reframing, we will do all the planning. It's not just like a architect sends us or an engineer sends us a diagram, we just install. We can do that, but a lot of times that's you have a surgeon cutting roast beef where there's people who will do that much less expensive and they do it quite well in a lot of situations. But what I'm talking about is not necessarily those fireplaces, although people can get in trouble with that too. If you don't know what you're doing and you're not reading instruction manuals, you will get in trouble installing those too if you don't follow the instructions. And you have to follow the instructions specifically. You can't change out things because you think they're prettier. That fireplace is what it is. The chimney section, the chimney goes with the fireplace. It's a kit. You have to buy it all at the same place. You have to install it from top to bottom. And where the cap is at the top, you have to follow instructions to make sure you don't create drafting problems or any overheating problems or problems with critters. Got to follow the instructions. When you go over to masonry built fireplaces, which are brick by brick fireplaces, meaning there is no instructions, there is codes and standards and that you're supposed to abide by, but a lot of people don't know what those codes and standards are. So a lot of times the person who installs it, who also does the brick on your house, will do what he thinks is right or what he's seen before. But if what he's seen before is wrong or what he thinks is right is not correct, suddenly you get a problem. Quite often the engineers and the architects don't necessarily tell you how to build a fireplace. They just say, in this spot, we want a 36 by 21 inch fireplace opening that is built to current codes and standards. But how do you know that the person you're hiring even knows what those codes and standards are? Because quite often people use fireplaces after they're built and they don't work at all, or they have some kind of issue, or they catch fire, which we've seen recently too. I mean, after one use, catch fire, which is not normal. I said it in my last videos, it's Wile E. Coyote wrong, not just a little wrong. But we have to step in and then tell people how it's not built correctly, what they should have done differently, and give them prices to fix what they currently have, which is more expensive than just doing it from the beginning correctly. So when it comes to fireplaces, especially if you're a home builder or you're a architect or an engineer and you design homes, you do new homes, especially high-end homes that are really custom, that's usually what we work with. Make sure you have someone who actually knows the codes and standards. And the problem is most people are not going to tell you, no, I don't know how to do that. They're going to see a dollar amount. They're going to see their rent check that they need to pay. And they're going to tell you, oh, sure, I can do that. And then they're going to try to figure it out. And some people can. Some people, there are codes and standards It's not hidden. You can do the research, find out, and build stuff correctly. But most commonly, what we see is I'm going to talk to a neighbor. I'm going to watch a YouTube video. I'm going to look at my mother's that's in our house and try to build it like that, assuming that that's correct, or assuming you don't just get totally incorrect information. Because sometimes what's logical is not correct. So clearance to combustibles so that you don't set the rest of your house on fire. Drafting characteristics, how big the venting system has to be versus the fireplace opening. There's standards for this. There's ratios for this. You got to get it right. And once it's wrong, it's really hard to fix. So if you have a fireplace and you're not sure was ever built correctly, because quite honestly, if you go back to the 70s and the 80s where most masonry fireplaces were built, the standards were dramatically different than they are today. And the reason is because some of that building practices caused drafting issues, number one, and they didn't work very well. And they weren't as safe as they're supposed to be today. So things change. The way we drive changes, the cars change, the safety rules. I remember when I was little, seatbelts weren't required. Now they are. We have to make sure that we're keeping up with the current standards, and we're not building cars with no seatbelts just because that's the only ones we've ever seen. So if you're getting a fireplace built, or if you had one built that doesn't work correctly, come talk to us. Let's figure out if there are design flaws inside of it. Just sweeping a fireplace, or cleaning, sweeping is the proper term, that doesn't fix problems. It's maintenance, and you need to do maintenance. And if you're keeping up with maintenance yearly, call us. We can get you on a program. We can determine if you have some design flaws, or if it's perfect, or what's going on. Because if a fireplace works sometimes but not others, something changed. Fireplaces generally do not change that quickly. And there are some stuff that does, like the fuel you're using, the wood you're using, if your damper's open or closed. There's even stuff like if your heating and air conditioning system is running while the fireplace is working. If you have a vent hood for your stove, is that on while your fireplace is working? These are things that can make the fireplace not work sometimes, and other times work. So if you're not sure about all this stuff, give us a call. We'll be happy to walk you through it. It's not very simple, and most people don't know all the technical rules, and they don't know how to diagnose these things. And they will tell you solutions that their father told them, or their neighbor told them, or YouTube told them, and they're not very accurate. So call us. Let's get down to the actual solutions, to the actual problems, not treat symptoms, and we will make that work. So I appreciate it. If you have any questions, comments, please leave them below. Give us an email, set up a virtual assessment, share this, like this. It helps us in the algorithm to help more people. So we appreciate it, and I'll see you next week.